Shalom, Mubaraka, Mishpaka, peace and blessings, family. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Indians of the West Coast, specifically California. But in this picture, this is an Indian of Oregon, guys, specifically a Klamath Indian. And the Klamath Indians lived in Southern Oregon and Northern California. But what I want you guys to understand, though, is the word Klamath comes from the word Hamath or Chamath, which is the same word Hamath that we see in the Old Testament. Now, let's talk about that just a little bit, because a lot of people don't understand that this land, especially the West Coast, is the Holy Land. The land of Hamath is the northern border of the Holy Land. Okay, Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11 states that Hamath will be one of the places the children of Yasharal will be scattered to in the last days. As you can see, he's a clear Negro. Okay, so we're going to go into this book called Information Respecting the History, Condition, and Prospects of the Indian Tribes of the United States. Now, this is a very important book that you need, guys. All right, let me explain something to you. If you want to see more books like this, I got the books, got the links on my Patreon. You know, check out my Patreon. This is a Patreon slideshow presentation, by the way. Help me raise the money to go to the Holy Land with metal detectors, with special equipment, shovels, things like that, and find our ancestors' remains so we can prove to the world that the true Holy Land is here. Guys, y'all thought I was just somebody sitting behind a screen telling y'all things like these people on TikTok. No, this is real research. This is not something for clout or views. This is actual scientific research. It is a historical breakthrough. Okay, and if you guys want to help me fund this, if you guys want to be a part of the restoration movement, man, all y'all gotta do is donate a little $5 a month. It won't hurt. Trust and believe. You know, it's worth it at the end of the day. 2025, I'll be in the land again. You know what I'm saying? Help me get there. You feel me? On the north bank, it commences to the coast range of the mountains, where hereafter follows the shore of the Pacific to Cape Mendocino, where it terminates. Cape Mendocino is Northern California. So this is where we're at, guys. So if we start off in the second paragraph, it says, a number of Indians from the neighborhood came in and a talk was held with them. The tribe to which they belong and which has its headquarters at Finch Ranch is called Quinamia, or the Spanish pronounce it Quinamiro. No opportunity afforded itself of collecting a vocabulary of their language, but I was informed that this dialect extends as far back as Santa Rosa down the Russian River about 3 leagues to Cooper's Ranch, and thence across the coast at Fort Ross and for 45 miles above. On Bodegas Bay, another tribe, Bodegas Bay is also where, guys? California. Another tribe, the Tumaquias, was a different one. In appearance, these Indians differ entirely from the Chinooks and other coastal tribes of Oregon, being taller and darker. They have quite heavy mustaches, beards on the chin, but not much on the cheeks, and they almost all suffer it to grow. They're tall, dark, they got beards, they got mustaches. Now, and they're thick, right? Quite heavy mustaches. You know what I'm saying? They're thick mustaches. It said, they are an ugly and brutish race, many with Negro profiles. Now, understand this. Understand this. When they say ugly, right, that's because this book was written during a time when white supremacy really started, right? They're trying to push a white beauty standard. So when they come in contact with the Negro people, they're going to say, oh, they're ugly. You know, as a way of reinforcing whiteness being equivalent to beauty by default, right? So just understand, it's gonna call a lot of these tribes ugly, okay? And you know, you're gonna see this over and over and over and over again. They have to do that, guys. It said, and some of their old men resembling Chinese figures of their deities. Understand that's because when the Siberian groups came down and they mixed in with those people, and then you had some tribes looking more Asiatic, and some tribes looking more Negro. So in this book, it's a whole nother book, guys. The Native Races of the Pacific States or North America by Hubert Howie Bancroft. Now on page 365, it says, at Bodega Bay, they are an ugly and brutish race, many with Negro profiles. They are physically an inferior race and have flat, unmeaning features, long, coarse, straight black hair, big mouths, and very dark skin. Now we're going to talk about that straight hair in just a minute. Okay, we're going to talk about that straight hair because look, it said coarse straight hair. Now coarse means rough, so the hair was straight and rough at the same time. If their hair is rough and straight at the same time, that means it was straightened artificially by heat. The straightening of the hair is actually a practice done by several regions of North American Indians. What they did was they took a bone pick, looks just like an Afro pick but made out of bone, and they would heat it up. Bone gets really hot, and they will put a type of grease on it or a type of fat on it and pass it through the hair, and it will literally easily straighten the hair. This is not a practice that is new, guys. This has been done for about 3,000 years now throughout the world. A lot of people think that Negroes straightening their hair is a new thing, but it actually has been done for many years simply due to maintenance reasons. But just understand, there's no naturally straight and coarse hair. Hair does not become coarse and straight. If the hair is straight, then it would have to be thick and oily naturally in order for it to be straight. If your hair is coarse or rough, that means it comes in thin strands and it dries out easily, which is Negro hair. Okay, so without further ado, I had to add that disclaimer. This book right here, guys, it likes to give quotes from other authors around that time. Hubert Howie Bancroft did not meet any Indians himself. He did not explore or do any of the stuff himself. So what he did, he read a whole bunch of books on it, and he just took little sentences out of those books and put it into this book. So we see a whole bunch of sources that he goes into, and he explains what the native races of the Pacific States look like. Okay, so as you can see, you see the sources all on this page, right? And it says, right, the next description: large and strong, their color being the same as that of the whole territory. What is that? Negro, dark. We already talked about how their skin was dark colored with Negro profiles. Okay. It is said of the natives of the Sacramento Valley that their growth is short and stunted. They have short, thick necks and clumsy heads. The forehead is low, the nose flat, broad nostrils. What race of people has broad nostrils, flat noses? Come on, guys. The eyes very narrow and showing no intelligence. Of course, they got to continue to push other people down. It says, and their heads are covered by short, thick, rough hair. Short, thick, rough hair. Short, thick, rough hair. That's literally only describing what we would call nappy. Okay? That's literally describing what we would call nappy. If I run my hand across my hair right now, I can tell you my hair is thick, short, and rough, just like it's being described in this text. Their color is a dirty yellowish brown. So they're yellowish brown. You know, probably a little lighter than me or my color, and they have thick, short, rough hair. Okay, so what does that describe? They have flat noses, broad nostrils, brown skin, thick. What race is that describing? Thick, short, rough hair. Think about it. Oh, is that Asiatic? It's describing Negro peoples. Again, this is the Pacific states. So now, guys, we're talking about a different tribe because we see that the source came on with that tribe. Now we're talking about another tribe in the West Coast. And it says, this race of Indians is probably inferior to all others on the continent. Many of them are diminutive in stature, but they do not lack muscular strength. And we saw some who were tall and well-formed. Their complexion is a dark mahogany. A dark mahogany. Look at the color of mahogany on the screen. And it said a dark mahogany. Okay? Or often nearly black. Their faces are round or square with features approximating nearer to the African than to the Indian. Okay? Nearer to the African than to the Indian. Because regardless of what people want to say, the American Indians did look different than the Africans, even though they are the same people. Understand, like I've been trying to explain to you guys, a lot of the American Indians are the children of Yas'Ra'ul. A lot of the Africans are the children of Yas'Ra'ul. We look different because we've been separated from each other for 2,000 years. That's what happens when you separate from, when two groups separate and go into different climates for so long, they're going to look different. But this tribe, it looked just like Africans. Just like Africans, according to this text. Now we're talking about another tribe, again, in the West Coast. All of these tribes are going to be in California, Oregon, or Washington, by the way, guys. The mouth is very large and the nose broad and depressed. Already, it's talking about Negroes. Negroes have large features, big lips, big nose, big eyes, big hair. You know, all of the above is big, right? So when you see things that's, it's saying something is big on the body, is most likely going to be a Negro. We have more what you call dihydrotestosterone, which is kind of like a growth hormone in the body than all other races. You understand? So our body parts just get bigger. So when you see something, it's big, okay, it's Negro. Automatically. No other race has anything bigger than a Negro has. You know what I'm saying? Get your mind out of the gutter. I know what you're thinking. Just stop, okay? Stop it. Chiefly distinguished by their dark color. Broad faces, broad mean wide, and low forehead. Their features are coarse, broad, and dark chocolate color. Dark chocolate. Not milk chocolate. Dark chocolate color. Their features are coarse, rough in appearance, rough hair, broad, and chocolate. It's dark chocolate. Now we're talking about another tribe. Here it says ugly, stupid, and savage. Of course, some of these people were just genuinely racist, guys. Otherwise, they are well-formed, tolerably tall, and of a dark brown complexion. The women are short and very ugly. They have much of the Negro in their countenance. very long, smooth, and coal black hair. So if their hair was smooth and long, it's most likely straight, and it's most likely straightened with some type of grease, guys. Now, I don't think there were any Negro tribes in America with naturally straight hair. There probably were. I know that the use of bear grease to straighten the hair was something that was done all over North America. All over North America, especially in areas that had bears, of course, like the West Coast, for example. So when a bear was killed, they took the fat and melted it down, moved it through the hair, put the bear grease. The bear grease would solidify in the proteins of the hair and straighten it, basically like an ancient perm. They all have a very savage look and are of a very dark color. Now let's talk about another tribe. The Alcones are a good height, and the Tolurarios, their complexion is much darker than the South Sea Islanders. Atlantic Islanders. South Sea was the Atlantic. So when we're talking about the Taino and the Arawak, it's saying that these people are darker than them. And I seen another source that says that the Tainos were purple in complexion. So if you so black, you purple, you midnight. And it said this tribe was darker than them, apparently. And their features are far inferior in beauty. In Santa Clara, they are of a blackish color. They have flat faces, thick lips, and black, coarse, straight hair. Now understand, when you see coarse, straight hair, you know it's straightened. No hair is naturally coarse and straight at the same time, okay? Unless it has been straightened with heat, 100%. They are nearly black and are exceedingly ugly. Now, ignore the ugly shit, right? So, I just want you guys to understand, on the West Coast, how these people from Africa, yeah, all them Negroes from Los Angeles and all the adjoining cities around Los Angeles, on up to San Francisco, on up to Seattle, and Las Vegas, and small pockets in between. How are these from Africa? Oh, they migrated there because of the gold rush. Because of the gold rush, they migrated to California so they can find some golds, because they were slaves and they wanted money. Man, if that's the case, guys, these Negroes would not be in the hood right now. You know what I'm saying? They would not be in the hood. If they was going out to get gold, they would not be in the hood. It is what it is, man. These are Indians, indigenous to the land. Indigenous. I don't really F with NWA like that though, because I feel like gangsta rap was the downfall of the Negro. Downfall of the Negro. But anyway, a lot of those people on the West Coast be looking so different than the rest of us. I went to California and I seen Negroes that look Chinese, Negroes that look Mexican, Negroes that look all kind of shit. Dark skin, like midnight, straight hair, something I never seen before. And I don't know if these guys are mixed with something or what. But since there were so many different tribes in California, a lot of those tribes mixed in. Negro with Siberian, Siberian with Negro. And then again, the Filipinos were shipped to California, but the Filipinos too were Negro with some Asiatic feature. And then, the Chinese migrants to California as well played a big part in their genetic mix-up. So a lot of the Negroes of California have, Chinese in their DNA, Hispanic in their DNA, as well as various Native American tribes within their DNA. It just doesn't make sense that this many Negroes travel to the Los Angeles region, San Francisco region, Seattle region, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. You can say it makes sense to you, but to me, it just doesn't make sense. Now let's talk about medieval California, guys. Medieval California, guys. Part of the earthly paradise. So this is some stuff that's online, many sources, public. So there's no arguing, no denying this. This is just complete truth. Columbus, The Four Voyages, 1492 to 1504, by Lawrence Bergreen. If you want the link, go to my Patreon, you know the drill. So on page 295, it says, sources and statements, opinions, and prophecies on the subject of the recovery of God's holy city and Mount Zion, on the discovery and evangelization of the islands of the Indies and all other people and nations. So this was Columbus's mission. He wanted to go to the west so he can recapture Zion, so that he could apparently convert the real Jews into Christianity. By the sword, of course. So that was his goal, bro. And he went to America to do that. That's what he said. The first voyage of Christopher Columbus in the late 15th century sparked a new interest in the search for terrestrial paradise, a legendary land of ease and riches with beautiful women wearing gold and pearls. Terrestrial paradise, aka the Holy Land, guys. Ezekiel 26, in the day that I lifted up my hand upon them to bring them forth of the land of Egypt into a land that I espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands. So the glory of all lands mean this is the most beautiful of all lands, the best of all lands, guys. This is what Yah says about the Holy Land, okay? The terrestrial paradise, paradise on earth, all right? This is what Christopher Columbus was looking for. He sparked the interest because he came over here, he went to the wrong place and could not find it. Spanish author Garcia Rodriguez de Montalvo drew upon reports from the New World to add interest to his fantasy world of chivalry and battle, of riches, victory, and loss, an upside-down depiction of traditional sex roles. Around the year 1500, in his novel The Adventures of Esplandian, he writes, which, by the way, guys, they say this is fictional. They say his book is fictional, okay? They say his book is fictional. You know, just keep that in mind. But that's what they say. Anyway, it says, know ye that at the right hand of the Indies, there is an island called California, very close to that part of the terrestrial paradise, aka Western North America, aka the Holy Land, which was inhabited by black women. Inhabited by what? Inhabited by black women without a single man among them, and they lived in the manner of the Amazons. They were robust of body, with strong, passionate hearts and great virtue. The island itself is one of the wildest in the world on the account of the bold and craggy rocks. Now, I want you to understand this. When it said not one man among them, obviously that part might be fiction, because there's no way you can have a human population with only females. But this does probably look like a post-war or a mid-war society where a lot of the men died out, and it was a hyper-polygamous society. So what I mean by that is in a war culture, in ancient war cultures, right? Many men, would die. Obviously, it's war. And they will end up having 7 times more women than there are men. So these were also hyper-polygamous societies. And there will be just more women than men. So what this looks like is an exaggeration. But let me just put it to you like this. They're black. That's the only thing we're looking at here. I don't care about the hyper polygamous war society. You know, that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is they're black. And he said they're black. This was in the 1500s, guys. They're black.
Now, we can't help but talk about exactly what happened in that land. What happened? There used to be so many inhabitants of California, and now there's just not that many native people of California. The amount of Negroes of California is low in number. The amount of even Siberian Native Americans in California is low in number. What happened to all the tribes of California? All the people groups, all the nations, because it wasn't just Israelites. No, it was Canaanites and Philistines as well. You know, we're going to talk about that, as well as other groups, you know, and scripture tells us exactly what was going to happen to these people. Zephaniah 2:4 says, "For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. Woe unto the inhabitants of the seacoast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of Yahuwah is against thee, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. I will destroy thee, and there will be no inhabitant." So when did this happen? This happened when the Spanish, for 400 years, terrorized Western North America, wiping out many of the native inhabitants of California. And then on top of that, guys, then when the Europeans who came from the American colonies spread their territory to California in the 1850s, they did an even bigger number of genocide on the California natives, killing every single one that they seen, no exceptions. And this went on for a while until they outlawed the killing of the California Indians, which happened very late, right? Very, very late in the game. They were killing Yasraelim, they were killing Philistim, they were killing the Canaanim, they were killing all these people, all these tribes. Every single one that, you know, the Gentiles saw, they would just slay them. And everybody else is just a remnant in the land, especially Yasrael. Yasrael makes up the vast majority of the Negroid population of California today. So in verse 6 it says, "And the seacoast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds, and folds for flocks," because after European did his dirty work, killing all those tribes, he turned all their land into land for the sheep and to pasture so that the sheep can graze.
And the San Joaquin drains the southern end of the Great Valley, flowing northward to the delta and the bay. Now we see that the valley is high at the north and south ends and slopes to nearly sea level where the two rivers meet. In the days of the early settlers, cattle were raised in the northern part of the Great Valley. In the long, hot summers, they could be driven up into the green meadows of the nearby mountains. But some areas in the Sacramento Valley were so dry that only sheep could be grazed profitably.
And verse 7 said, "And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah." So Yahuwah says after that, Judah will take over and it's going to be our coast. "They shall feed thereupon. In the houses of Ashkelon they shall lie down in the evening." Ashkelon is in the area that we now know today as Los Angeles. So scripture said Judah will take Los Angeles and dwell in the houses of Los Angeles. After we go in and we decimate the population of Japhet, who decimated the original population of the seacoast, and we take that land back. It says, "For Yahuwah, their Elohim, will visit them and turn away their captivity." What else can we say about the destruction of the people on the West Coast? how they all got wiped out clean from the earth. And Hamath shall border thereby, Tyrus and Zidon, though it be very wise. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver as the dust, and gold as the mire of the streets. Behold, Yahuwah will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. So Tyre will be flooded and then burnt. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? The true territory of Tyre is in the Northern California region, an area that experiences both forest fires and tsunamis. Tsunamis, guys. So that would only make sense for it to be in the American model. Verse 5, Ashkelon shall seed and fear. Gaza also shall be very sorrowful. Ekron, for her expectation shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. So even the land of Philistines destroyed, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride from the Philistines. It said a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. A bastard is a people that don't even know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, that's what a bastard is. That's what a mamzer was. A mamzer, that's when the scripture said a mamzer shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord in Deuteronomy chapter 23. That's saying that a person who cannot trace their genealogy and they don't know what their nation is, they cannot enter into the congregation. They can't enter into the tabernacle. They can't enter into the tent of meeting, because they could be an Ammonite or a Moabite, but they don't know, because their mama was sleeping with everybody and their dad was probably a Moabite. So if you don't know who you are, you couldn't just walk into the tabernacle of the congregation. So when it says a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, that means a nation of people that don't even know what their nation is.
You have to understand, where's Ashdod? Ashdod is in the land of the Philistines. Where's that today? I've already shown a lot of proof that that's actually in the modern region now known as Los Angeles, okay? Now, it said a bastard will go there, and Yahuwah will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Another way of saying this is that the Philistines will no longer have power in that land because another people came over and replaced them. You have to understand, when the Spanish came to California, when they went to California, they slaughtered so much of the original people there. Okay? There is a group of people who live in the Los Angeles region now who have power, just like the Philistines once had power over that land. I can't really say who they are because I don't want to get this video deleted, but I'm pretty sure you guys already know who I'm talking about. Spain brought a lot of them over here because they were exiled from the country in 1491. And a lot of them were not true bloodline descendants of who they thought they were. But they still claim this nation. They still claim to come from Jacob, but they don't know who they truly are. Therefore, they're bastards. It says in verse 7, and I will take away his blood out of his mouth and his abominations from between his teeth. Now, this verse further explains who this bastard is. Because who today have blood in their mouth and abominations between their teeth? What group of people is known for biting the foreskin of infants and circumcising it, allowing the blood to get on their face and lips and stuff like that, and then taking the foreskin and rubbing it on their face? What group of people is known for extreme human trafficking, adrenochrome trafficking, You know, taking the blood from children and using it in ritual sacrifices and for consumption to live for a long time. If you don't know who I'm talking about, just research blood libels. There's a group of people on this earth who've been doing this for a very long time. Blood magic. They consume blood. They traffic children for blood. They dig tunnels where they traffic children for the blood. And they today live in Los Angeles. They own Hollywood. They own all the media. They own adult production, if you know what I'm saying. They own the food industries. They own a lot of the things that we use every single day are owned by them, even social media. So if you still don't know what people this is, just remember, it's the same nation of people who Yahuwah said he would drive us to jealousy with. A people that's not even a people. A people who think they're a certain group of people, but they're not that group of people. Yah calls them a foolish nation because they have been fooled by their fathers. They don't even know who they are. And Yah's going to use them to drive us to jealousy because we serve that which was not God. So now they're in our place. They're ruling the world, but they're not ruling the world in righteousness. They're ruling the world in wickedness. This is that bastard who is prophesied to dwell in the land of the Philistines. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our Elohim, and he shall be as a governor in Yehuda, and Ekron as a Jebusite. So you have to understand, who is this talking about? This is talking about David, the Messiah. It said, I will take away the blood from out of his mouth. So what does that mean? I will take away the blood from out of his mouth. That means this bastard who has blood in his mouth, who does ritual things with blood, is going to be cut off as well. If he says, I'm taking away the blood out of his mouth, that means this group of people, they're going to be gone too. But it said, but he that remaineth, meaning he that survives this war that's going to happen, the destruction of these elites, right? The people that run the banks in Hollywood and doing these human sacrifices and drinking blood, when they are destroyed, the person that's going to remain in that region, it said, he shall be for Elohim, and he shall be as a governor in Yehuda. David. See, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people just simply do not know prophecy because they don't know where the land is at.
It's telling you chronologically how this is going to happen. First thing is Tyre and Zidon destroyed. Flood happens. Fires happen. Second thing, Ashkelon, Gaza, the land of Philistines, Ashdod. Their inhabitants get cut off. By who? By some bastard who takes over their land. They replaced the Philistines. Okay, that took place. And then Yahuwah said, and I will take away the blood from out of his mouth. So this didn't happen yet. This is soon to be. Yahuwah said he's going to destroy the elites. He's going to take away the blood out of their mouth. And he that remains, when he destroyed the elites, he that remains will be David. David is going to be the new elite. Y'all have to know how this works. Y'all have to know how the scriptures are to be read. But you ain't gonna know that if you don't know where the land is at. That's why I tell people why it's so important. You're not gonna even know how to interpret the smallest prophecy if you don't know where the land is at. Another scripture about the seacoast being completely decimated, and how the people got wiped out, completely wiped out and replaced. Amos chapter 1 verse 6. Thus saith Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity, to deliver them up to Edom. Now, guess what, guys? I seen a clip from IUIC, Israel Uniting Christ, saying that this is about the current war in Gaza and Israel today, in modern Israel today. And I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you that absolutely not. And I can prove that, guys. because those people who live in modern day Gaza had nothing to do at all with the Philistines who lived during the time of Amos. Anyway, verse 7, it says, "But I will send fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof." The palaces. Those people who live in modern Gaza don't live in palaces, guys. They live in cement, goddamn, look like some parking garages. That's what they look like they live in. Definitely ain't no palaces. Palaces is a word that the scriptures use to infer that they are a wealthy nation that will crumble. Okay, so essentially, it's not talking about modern day Gaza right there. They don't have palaces. It says, "I will cut off the inhabitant of Ashdod and him that holds the scepter from Ashkelon." Nobody holds a scepter in Gaza, bro. Nobody. There's no hold the scepter means what? That means a royalty. That means an actual king. There is no actual king of Gaza who holds a scepter. These are symbolisms of wealth. That's what these words are used to paint a picture of wealth. A wealthy nation crumbling by Yahuwah. It's not talking about a nation that was already poor and continually being bombed and nuked. That's not what this is talking about. Okay? So anyway, "And I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish." So this is about the Philistines. The people who live in fake Gaza today are not Philistines. But also, these people are clearly Semitic people. They do indeed speak a Semitic language, and their DNA is close to Negro DNA. If we were to go back far enough, the inhabitants of Gaza and modern Israel, fake Israel, would have looked like us. These are just Negroes who got mixed with Greek and Roman. But their DNA shows that they are closely related to us. They have Y DNA haplogroup E1B1B, and the average Negro has haplogroup E1B1A. So they're basically our twin. They're the Edomites. Okay, those are the Edomites. They're suffering the curses of Esau, not the curse of Gaza. We go back far enough into the history of all those Arabs who live in that region. It's just been war for the last about 2,000 years, because that's the curse of Esau, the sword. Continual war, continual driving out of their lands. That's their curse. Verse 9 said, "Thus saith Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant." So essentially, guys, Tyrus, like I talked about earlier, is in Northern California, that region between San Francisco and Northern California. And with that being said, Scripture said, "I will send a fire on the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof." We already talked about how Tyrus had gold like the mire of the streets, right? California is known for its gold, man. Not some little city over there in modern Gaza and all this other stuff. Like, let's just be honest here. And California is also known for what else? Forest fires. Just like Scripture said, Tyrus will be burnt up. I already showed you guys in another video how certain old looking castles can be found in California, which look like the brick and stone have literally been melted with heat that's so fervent. You know, it must have got really hot. It must have been intense forest fire. Intense or purpose forest fire by the Spaniards. When the Spaniards pulled through in certain areas of California to make war with these tribes, they would set entire forests on fire just to kill these people off. A lot of people don't know about that. Now, this painting is called Inhabitants of California by Louis Choris. And you can clearly see that at least 3 of the people in this painting, the one at the top, They are Negroid. You know, every facial feature matches the Negro's proportion. It just might confuse you that their hair is straight, but like I told you guys, we had the methods of straightening hair. You could either use three things: hot plates, a hot stick, or a hot pick. Comb them through the hair. This is ancient stuff, guys. People think this is new stuff. No, ancient stuff. And you can also add bear's grease to the hair to lock in that straightness. And people have been doing that throughout the Americas. You can tell this guy in the middle for sure has flat ironed hair, because look how big his hair looks. Look how big and stiff his hair looks. Which is a clear, obvious indication of, you know, heat treated hair. Also, look how his middle part is very close together. You can't really see much skin, which is another indication of kinky roots that are not just laying straight. The roots are still kinky. You know what I'm saying? If we were to look at the jaw structure, lips, nose, and their eyes, you know, classic Negro features, it's just very simple. These are definitely not Siberian Native American. About this painting called Dance Headdresses of the Inhabitants of California by Louis Choris as well. Now, as you can look at their facial features, again, very Negroid. Hair, not so much. You know, like I don't have to continually repeat myself, but they had the methods and techniques to achieve a look like this. Now, this painting is called Northern Valley Yakut Indians Hunting on the Bay of San Francisco. Now, why are they naked? I don't know. I guess, you know, the breeze might feel good down there. But as you can see, especially from not just the skin complexion, which is obvious Negro, but the side profile of these guys, they're definitely Negroes, man. I mean, the hair, questionable. You know what I'm saying? That's some questionable hair right there. But like I said, two possibilities. They're either straightening their hair, or they possibly even have naturally straight hair. I mean, guys, there's so many tribes in California. You know, so many different looking people that were wiped out by the European people that we just probably don't even see anymore. We don't know what the hair texture of the Philistines look like. These could be Philistines or Tyretians or Zidonians. We don't know. Now, if you look at this image, you can see a lot of body paint, but you can clearly tell that the base complexion of the people is very dark. You can also see that some of the people possibly have clear and obvious afro textured hair, like this guy right here in the middle.
A lot of the Israelites, if not most of the Israelites who live in California today, are descended from the ancient Israelites who lived on that land ancestrally. Yeah, they didn't go over there in the gold rush. Sure, some probably did. But we can't just say the entire Negro population on the West Coast is from the gold rush. You know, it just doesn't make sense, man. There was a lot of indigenous Negroid populations in California, the survivors of the genocide, who later assimilated in these big cities that were created, like Los Angeles, like San Francisco, like Portland, like Seattle, etc., etc. Now, what we have to understand is that Scripture says in the last days, specifically Zebulun and Asher are going to basically remain in the land. Genesis 49:13 says, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. So this sounds like the San Francisco region, a haven of ships, and his border reaching unto Zidon, which is somewhere between San Francisco and Oregon. Okay, so this looks like it's talking about Negroes who live in the San Francisco region, as well as a lot of the Negroes who live in Oregon, the Oregon Territory. Zidon and Tyre, these are places in Lebanon. Oregon, essentially, is a part of Lebanon. So Portland, Oregon, even though it's like right in between Lebanon and Hamath, would be a part of Zebulun, the range of Zebulun, if you think about it. Probably Zebulun extends all the way up to Seattle. We're talking about the Zebulunites who live there today. And then Genesis chapter 49 and 20 says, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. That's because California produces 90% of all the fruit and vegetables of the United States. It's a very fruitful place, okay? And this says, if you go back to verse 1 of Genesis 49, it says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So in the last days, Asher, the tribe of Asher, his bread will be fat. He'll yield royal dainties. Guess what? California, their bread is fat. They yield royal dainties. And Asher's tribal territory was actually on the coast of the sea, according to the book of Joshua. So Asher stayed in his land. They did not get driven away like the other tribes. So why did Zebulun and Asher stay in their land while the rest of Yasharal had to flee? Well, that's because two reasons. When Yahuwah dried up Western North America and he flooded Western North America, California got isolated from the rest of the Holy Land. Guys, you have to understand, California became an island at one point. This was due to the extreme floodings that hit the land. And when this happened, California became very fruitful. So there was no reason for the children of Zebulun and Asher to migrate with the rest of Yasharal. A lot of them moved into the islands of the Pacific. There's also a small remnant of Judah in the Los Angeles region as well, guys. So with that being said, the rest of Yasharal had to flee because the land got so dry. And if you live in the South, or if you live in the East Coast, you was a part of the other tribes. But if you live on the West Coast, you're more likely Zebulun, Asher, or Judah.